just joining the business, I mean, if you're looking at this chat right here, you can see who has been doing this for a long time, and you don't just have to listen to, the panelist up here afterwards. You're able to connect on Workplace, just like Renee said. Workplace is a phenomenal tool to be able to connect with agents across the country in a very real way. So really, I when I first got into the business, I didn't use it that much, but I use it quite a bit now. Quite a bit, I'd have to say. So let's see. Do we have our panelists up here? Eugene, Ellen.
Good morning.
Missing anybody else? Good morning. I know Daryl was in here earlier, but he may have slipped out.
I'm here, just wandering around the room. Let me get up there. Hold on.
Sounds great.
Working the room for referrals.
Working it. So as we get started, guys, we have a wide range of people in here, and we're going to be talking a little bit, so everybody out there, we're going to be talking a little bit about the market, our mindset on the market, and what we need to do to continue to hit our goals, and how to get out of funks because there's a lot of rhetoric out there on what may happen, and if you get caught up in that, guys, it can be disastrous. It can be crippling to just think about what may come. And so today we're going to be focusing on, as agents, as top producing agents, as just brand new agents, what we can do to work through our mindset, work through our activities so that we can continue to hit our goals as we're in a changing market. So as we get started, I'd love for each of our panelists to introduce themselves and tell just a little bit about them. And we will, if we can, let's start with Lisa.
All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much, first of all, for being here. Thank you for our moderators, other panelists, and especially everybody in the audience. Your time is valuable, and we appreciate you sharing this next hour or so with us. Hopefully we can bring you some value and learn from each other. That's what I'm looking forward to, for sure. So my name is Lisa Parento. I am an agent on beautiful Cape Cod in Massachusetts. I'm fortunate enough to actually have been an ICON agent both my first 2 years here at EXP, which has been a real honor and privilege. I have a small team here. I have been selling real estate. I started in the 90s. Way back in the day when there were no buyer agents, or there was one like 3 towns over who was very suspect. We didn't know what was going on with him. We all represented the seller, and we had the books that we Xeroxed, and we got them every 2 weeks, and interest rates were 13%, and we thought the world was fabulous. So, I hesitate to have a lot of sympathy with people wringing their hands over a 5% interest rate today, but we can talk about that later. My career kind of morphed into technology sales for a lot of my career after that, and I've been back now since 2015. So I love selling real estate here. I'm also an association volunteer. I do some volunteering at the state, local, and national level. I currently serve as the president of the New England region for the Residential Real Estate Council, your CRS designation. But my most important fact about me is that I am a grandma to 2.5-year-old Eloise Ann, and that is the joy of our lives. And if you are a grandma or papa, you'll know exactly what I'm feeling. That's me.
Thank you. Ellen.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ellen O'Neill, and I am in Charleston, South Carolina. I have been selling real estate since 2010. That's when I got licensed. It took me a bit to get my first sale, I'm not going to lie. I was brand new to the market where I work, and I was transitioning from teaching into real estate. So I had a very slow start to my career because sales were low. We were just trying to build our way out of the bubble. And then I exited teaching in June of 2014 and have been full-time in real estate since then. I am a solo agent. I have a couple of assistants that help me more with behind the scenes things like contract to close and some marketing and things of that nature. But I am truly a solo agent. I do not run a team. And let's see, I'm a mother of twins. They're 24. And Lisa, I'm about to join you in the ranks of being a grandma. I have a granddaughter on the way in August. So I'm super excited about that. And let's see, just to kind of recap my time with EXP, I joined in April of 2018. And this is my third year iconing. So very grateful for the opportunities that this company presents. And it's an honor to be here on the panel to learn from one another and share with everybody.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on third year of Icon. And just for everybody out there, we introduce everybody and we share a little bit about, not just because it's something easy to do, but as you listen to each of these panelists, there may be somebody that you can relate to, somebody that's in your position, somebody that is where you want to be. And we want you to be able to connect with some of these stories as we share and we go in some of these details. So, Eugene. Is Eugene here? If not, Daryl, go ahead.
Am I sitting here all by myself? Should I look more friendly and move across the stage? That was supposed to be somewhat humorous, hard to do in a virtual world, I guess. The story that Lisa told, I really identified with, because I started when, like, the oil crash here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that's my market, and everybody was leaving, and I was moving in as a kid with my parents, and that's where I started to be introduced to real estate. My intro was with my dad. As late teens, I sold my first house when I was 20, had gotten my license when I was 19, and it was really dismal. I mean, we had over 8,000 houses on the market. HUD had its own newspaper, but it was a blessing to be trained in that kind of market, because the mortgage crisis of 2007, 2008 was like, that was for sissies. And so to know how to go through those transitions and to see what a really bad market looks like, and to see interest rates going up. I mean, they were over 10%, well over 10% when I was starting. My people that I was selling houses for, helping them right size, they were selling houses where they had a 17% negative amortization, meaning every month you made a payment, you still owed more than what you did before you made the payment. So it was just crazy. But you can survive, because everybody needs a place to live. So looking for that opportunity was really good training for me. I have 8 kids. I've had foster children. 7 of them I've adopted. That's something that makes me a little unique. And what keeps me somewhat creative is the have to there. So that's a little bit about me.
Well, that is amazing. I'm actually going through getting our foster care license, so we can be foster parents as well. I'll give a little bit about me, your moderator. My name's Tyler. I'm in the middle of the country, Omaha, Nebraska. Most people consider it a flyover state. Well, it's a great family city, Omaha, Nebraska is. I've been doing this for about 11 years with EXP, about 3.5 going on 4 years now. And I started back in 2011, when everything was really slow, and basically had to grind my way to where I am today. And if I'm honest, and we're going to be having a lot of honest conversations today, it's gotten pretty easy. And when it comes to some of the things we're going to be talking about, the necessary things that we have to do as agents to make sure we're going to continue to hit our goals. So as we go through this conversation, everyone, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. I'm saying that now because at some point we will be going back and going through these questions as they come up as we're having these conversations. So I'd like to start off with everyone, or with our panelists, with a question about your goals. What have your goals been? And as we're in this shifting market, what are you going to do to make sure you continue to hit those goals as interest rates rise and we may have fewer buyers that are interested, and so forth? What are you guys doing to make sure you're still doing the activities to hit those goals. Lisa?
Okay, yeah, thanks. Thanks so much for this question. I think I would say, at a couple different levels. Number one, probably most importantly, I feel like the best thing that we can do is to continue to become kind of the best version of ourselves every day. The more skill set that we learn and the more certainty that we can provide to our family and friends and our clients, that's, I think, probably the most important thing that's going to help me reach my goals in this next 6 to 18 months. We've never seen a time like this. We've seen shifts before, but this one is a little bit different. And maybe when you're at the beginning of any shift, it feels a little bit different. So in terms of reaching my goals this year, more specifically, I was really trying to have like almost a hybrid for my goals, and part of that was production, and part of that was growing my revenue share team. So that's been that is a continued challenge. Let's continue to stay with, let's being honest. A huge challenge for me because, like maybe some of you also, I'm pretty good at one of those things and not very good at one of those things. So I gravitate to the thing that I'm pretty good at, and that does not help me with the goals I've set for myself. So I have to revisit those goals. I personally have to have coaches because I'll just, I got my bathing suit on now and I'm heading out right after this call, right? I will partially enjoy life. So I need coaches. I need to remind myself every day what those goals are, but I also need to lean into my skill set and providing certainty for everyone around.
Awesome. Thanks, Lisa. Ellen?
That was like beautifully articulated, Lisa. A lot of the thoughts that come to my mind about the shifting market and goals and how to stay on track. For me, this is really the first time I'm going through a shifting market because having started in 2010, things were at a low point. And I agree. That was a wonderful time to break into real estate because things weren't just flying into your lap. You had to really find the business. So this is my first time experiencing a shift, where things are declining in terms of, interest rates rising and buyer interest level dropping. I've always been in a climbing market. My goals this year, well, typically my goals are always against myself. So I tend to want to beat my last year's numbers every year. I just want to get better and better with number of transactions and overall volume. But this year, to be honest with you, my goal has kind of shifted because my business is extremely heavy on referral and repeat business. And I love video, and I have challenged myself to really try to build outside of my sphere and to attempt to become more of like a knowledge broker in my local market and start tapping into people outside of my sphere to create a larger, broader spectrum of buyers and sellers. So coaching, I am 150% a fan. I can't express enough the importance of having a coach and having somebody that you can be very open and honest with so that they can help you towards the best goals for yourself. Might be personal as well as production or a combination. So I would definitely second Lisa's sentiments about the value of hiring a good coach. And to stay on track, honestly, I'm trying to really focus on mindset a lot. I'm reading a book that I can definitely suggest. It came up in a few recent conversations, so I thought there must be really something to it. It's called The Gap in the Game. And I think a very valuable nugget that I've taken away just from the beginning is that, we can sometimes fall in the trap of measuring our progress against ideals. And that means it will never be attainable, and it can threaten to leave you with a sense of incompetence or feeling discouraged. So rather than always comparing yourself to an ideal, which is literally unattainable. It's better to look at the gains you've made from where you came from, right? And measure yourself against where you were a year ago, 6 months ago, 10 years ago. And it's very motivating to hear people remind us of that, because we can all get caught up in comparing ourselves to others, especially in the world of social media that we live in. And it's not going to fuel your mindset. So I've been reading, books to help with mindset. I go through periods where I lean into, say, scripture and daily devotionals, just to kind of get my mind right every day, and then focus on all of the new things I'm working on with my coach. I'm literally doing a complete overhaul of everything that I do, just to try to better myself. And that's another thing, always trying to get better with new techniques, new strategies, new systems, to try to stay very current. So I think in this shifting market, we have to be the voice of reason. We have to be the knowledge broker. We have to lean into the facts to present the facts and help people that may be getting conflicting information from the media. And I think that's really what's going to carry us through this shift and keep our businesses moving forward, where it's highly likely that a lot of people will turn away from this industry if they don't have the skill set to push through the change.
Thank you, Elaine. Yeah, and just for those who have, if you've just joined, we're going through some questions, and really we're talking about goals, what you're doing to make sure you hit your goals in this shifting market. And Elaine did touch on some mindset that we are going to be talking about here in a second. So, Daryl, why don't you go ahead and share as well?
So my big focus, and I renamed my team, I dropped the team concept, or the team name, many years ago, when I just kind of looked into the future and thought, everybody can call themselves a team, but what I think the public is really looking for is, while they want teamwork, they want specialization. And when this term knowledge broker was brought up, I think these dovetail very, very smartly. And that is, become a specialist at something. Know something that is of real value to the client. And the reason I think we're struggling as real estate agents as a whole, and I don't have a really high opinion of our profession, and I say that cautiously, because we bring exceptional service to the public and provide something that's very valuable. But as a whole, real estate agents aren't committed to real excellence and specialization. They just want to show up and get a check. And we are differentiating ourselves when we show up here at ICONversations, and we're sharing information, and we're taking our spare time and learning something that's going to bring value to the public. And when you show that through a specialization, you really make yourself, you're so far ahead that people can't compete with you. Ideas of what I'm talking about here. I'm a certified divorce real estate expert. There's so much that is not being served in the family law community, that somebody who knows how the legal system works, what people are going through in divorce, how the real estate business has to function to get people to that end goal. I mean, they can't even get along. They're getting a divorce. And so we have to have a specialty in order to make that work. What do seniors need? There are downsizing specialists, land specialists, people who understand investors. So having the specialized knowledge is what always shines and rises to the top. Here we've had corporate relocation specialists, somebody who specializes in foreclosures. That's going to be a real need here. What's the foreclosure process? So anyway, staking claim to your ground and really becoming the knowledge broker, as it's been said, is what brings value to us. And when you've got that, I don't think your business suffers. I think it thrives. These changes, the reason they're so painful is people don't know how to cope with the change, function in the change, and that goes for realtors and the people that we're serving. So helping our clients through it because we know the answers, we have solutions, is where the win is.
Thanks, Daryl. And I'll go ahead and I'll add a thought here. My goal every year is really to hit Icon. I want to hit Icon. Right now I'm 2 transactions away. I reset in November, so I should be fine. But the goal, I mean, for many of those out there or out watching today, you're like, I want to be able to hit Icon. So when we're in a transitional market, this is the greatest opportunity to gain market share. In downturning markets is the greatest opportunity to gain market share, and it's not easy. It's a lot of work, and so that's where, for me, what I'm focusing on to make sure that I continue to hit my goals. It's going to be getting back to the basics of doing the activities, the follow-ups, the door knocking, the follow-up calls, the cold calling, the giving gifts to past clients, to current clients, doing pop buys. There are so many different things that, you can focus on the thing that may fit your personality the best, but it requires action, requires activities and work to be able to do that. When markets are shifting, this is the opportunity for you to work harder than everybody else in your marketplace to start gaining more market share, because it won't always stay this way. But that's kind of what I'm focusing on when it comes to a shifting market. So I want to ask a question of our panelists on mindset. We've touched on it. Ellen touched on it a little bit, but I want to, because I'm human. And there's moments I struggle, and I'll share some of those as well. But when we're talking about mindset, what have you struggled with your own mindset? If you have, in what areas within your business have you struggled in your mindset? And then how do you personally, because obviously you guys are up here on the stage, you've hit Icon, you have goals, and you're achieving them in whatever degree that may be. So you're getting yourself out of that mindset and you're correcting that and you're pressing on. What are you doing? What have you struggled with? And what are you doing to get yourself out of those funks that you may experience at times? And I'll let anybody who has a thought go first.
I'll go. So perfection is my problem. I think like an engineer. I've got things always need to be perfect. It's not quite ready for to roll out for the public, and that is a really big problem for me. And I'll find a year later, after I've got some idea, I've still not implemented anything. So for me personally, it's take it one step at a time, roll it out. It's better than anything else that's out there. So begin the process and enjoy the benefits of it. So perfection is one. The other sometimes for me is I feel kind of hopeless because I see it in my head, but I don't know that I don't know that it's going to be accepted well by others or the marketplace. So it's kind of a depression issue. And I know this is a very personal comment, but I know that we all struggle with that in different ways. Like, I'm not good enough, or nobody's going to understand, or you were rejected once when you presented it. And that's what you have to push through this is what I remind myself of. You have to push through that negative feeling until you start to get your momentum. And some of the biggest successes, most of the biggest successes in the world come from people who have failed many, many times. What I've done most recently is I completed an Ironman. I got into triathlon, and Ironman was something I said, I don't know that I could ever do that. I can't swim 2.5 miles or 2.4 miles. And I thought, why am I telling myself this? Why am I letting myself think that I can't accomplish that? So I set out to do something that was really bigger than what I thought I could do. And I think challenging ourselves in other ways outside of our business causes us to rethink everything. And of course, when you're training for Ironman, you have a lot of time where you're thinking, why in the world am I doing this? Or how am I ever going to complete it? And sometimes I was scared, like I'm going to be out in the middle of a lake I can't touch, and I'm going to be exhausted. What's going to happen? And you just talk yourself through that. So I think it's a matter of challenging yourself all the way around, becoming that whole person, and applying those lessons to your business. That's what it is for me.
Thanks, Daryl. And even as we're talking, I can already see that this conversation about mindset is hitting home with quite a few people. So I would love to hear, just to answer, to become an icon, it's different for every market, but in general, you have to cap at $16,000, and then you got to pay into the company $5,000 in transaction fees. And for us, it comes out to be about 20 transactions, whole transactions, if you're not splitting a deal, just to answer that question as well. And Ellen or Lisa?
Sure, I'll jump in. So this is, such an important topic. I mean, in work, in life, in every way. And when I taught in the world last year, it was on gratitude and mindset. And so I really appreciate you asking this question for sure. I think at the very, somewhere, somehow, and I know Tony Robbins certainly reinforced it, but I believed the statement that you always have a choice. And that has been really transformational for me. It's enabled me to recognize when I'm not going in a direction that I want. I can recognize when I'm, choices I'm making that I can't control. The only thing I can control is my attitude about things, right? There's all those millions of things. There's a reason they've been around for a long time. But that idea that I always have a choice about how I feel, how I react, how I walk in the world, how I treat others, all of that, how I conduct my business, all of those things. And so I continuously try to find people who are a lot more inspiring, smarter, better at everything than me. And I find out where they are and I put myself in those rooms. No matter where they are, whether it's at EXP, whether it's at my brokerage, whether it's in my volunteer life, whether it's in my spiritual life, I always put myself in the company of people who are at another level, and that that lifts me up for sure. I have a spiritual practice I have for a very long time. I've been a meditator for a very long time, and currently, just to let you know, I have these things called daily inspiration. There's a yoga teacher that's a real mentor of mine named Elena Brower, and she has this beautiful set of cards called a daily inspiration. And I pull a card every morning. Actually, today was an adventure, and I had to really think about that. And then today was 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It's not like I sit for an hour. I meditate. And I think about that, whatever card I pulled, and it's amazing, of course, the impact that whatever that card has on my day. And then I have a journal, and I write like I put the date and the word, and then I write a couple sentences, which has been an amazing daily practice for me, and an energy that has come from somewhere else, a power greater than me, right? An energy that has come into my life, and that really guides me. I don't do it every day. I do it almost every day. I mean, there certainly are days, I guess, that, but if you can't, they say if you don't have 5 minutes to meditate for 1 hour. So I make it a priority, and I do that for sure. And then lastly, I just want to say, I think it's really important, and the speaker right before me, I think Daryl touched on this. Find some things that make you feel good about yourself. Whatever they are. Like I made myself, even though it was only 45 minutes today, I wanted to sit out on my deck and enjoy the first day of July and have coffee and read the paper. But I put on my yoga pants and I went to the gym for only 45 minutes, but it made me feel good about myself. It's a commitment I've made to myself, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and when I do it, I feel proud of myself, and that helps my self-esteem, and that helps me walk in the world in a more positive way. So hopefully someone can get something from that.
Appreciate it. Ellen, you have anything to add?
Hold on. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, my microphone kept flicking on and off. Okay, so I definitely think that the talk of perfection is spot on. I think many people that have perfectionistic tendencies tend to have a feeling of defeat. And it goes back to what I said earlier about perhaps comparing ourselves to ideals rather than looking to see if we're growing and changing and evolving as an individual. So I think recognizing if you fall into that perfectionistic category is important, and to keep in mind done is better than perfect most times. It can be very hard to delegate if you're in a perfectionistic mode of operation. And if you're going to grow your business, you're going to have to learn how to delegate. So I would say coming up with strategies to, try to combat a perfectionistic mindset for the good of seeking balance in your life is going to be crucial if you're going to be a happy realtor. And then, I think the daily habits, whether you are into reading scripture, meditating, exercise, you have to find that there's something that helps you feel good and carve out time in your schedule to do that. The mind-body connection is massive. So I think if you're, feeling good physically, it's definitely going to help you in the mental realm. And quite honestly, I think that we are living in a world where there is just a very loud negative voice everywhere you turn. It's very easy to stumble into negativity, whether you're watching television, listening to the news, looking at social media. And I think a lot of people have found success when they start tuning that out, right? So for me, it's been a balance of how do I stay in the know, but not tune into the negativity either. And that, I think, is a challenge that faces us today. And it doesn't necessarily happen just in real estate, but in any industry and every walk of life. We have to really step back and evaluate what we're listening to and subscribing to.
Sweet. Awesome. Thank you, Ellen. I want to add a couple others here. Put in the comments if you can relate to some of these as far as like moments where you've struggled in your mindset. When you lose a listing appointment to another agent, when a buyer chooses to work with another realtor. That's a tough one. Or this has happened to me several times, when a friend uses another realtor. That's a tough one. I've had that happen several times. And what I found, as you've listened to a lot of what everybody said up here, to some degree, everybody said to do something else, to put your mind and your actions into another activity. And I really want to encourage you guys and help you see that your identity is not you as a real estate agent. You are a person, right? You could do anything. You just chose to put your profession as a realtor. And your identity isn't supposed to be caught up in you as in what you do as a realtor every single day. And I found that as I began, I had a close friend. He was in my wedding, worked with another realtor. And that was tough. But I found that when I took myself out of the role of a realtor and just saw myself as a person. My identity wasn't in who I was, but for me, it's in Christ. It was in my relationship with the Lord. And finding your identity in something else has helped tremendously in being able to let these things go and not let them fester you. They always hurt. It always sucks. But I would tell you that understanding, number one, that's not who I am. My identity isn't caught up in my ability to get a listing, my ability to help a friend. People just do things, and it happens. But I also found that as I didn't sit in that lull, but actually applied myself to my daily activities, I found myself getting wins throughout the day, or something that would happen that would encourage me and lift my spirits. So not only find your identity not in what you're doing, but two, activity, activity, activity. If you do not apply yourself to daily habits and daily practices, you'll find yourself staying in that funk, because it's going to happen again. Every single one of these agents up here have been rejected multiple times, have failed multiple times, and have had to get back up over and over and over. But the reason they're here today is because they got back up. So your ability to say, okay, I'm going to set this behind me and I'm going to press on, is going to be extremely, extremely important, especially in a shifting market. I've already had several buyers say, I'm going to wait. I think we're going to change what we're doing. And that can be concerning when you start thinking, well, I have to make a living. How am I going to get through the day if all my buyers are deciding not to do anything, right? Activity, 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 and continuing to push forward is going to be extremely helpful to get yourself out of the funk. And in this same stream, I want to hear from our panelists. Now that we've talked about mindset, let's touch on the motivation factor. What motivates you? What motivates you to get back up and take those activities? When you're in the middle of that mindset shift that you're trying to do it, what is that motivation that pulls you out? What pulls you out to actually take those activities? How do you overcome? And if you don't have, or have you ever struggled with stuff or with motivating factors? Have you had no motivation before? And what have you done to get yourself out of those? What's your big, and another way to say it is, what's your big why that gets you out of bed in the morning?
Okay, well, I want to answer two things. One of my kids, I have a lot of obligation, and it's like I can't quit. So on one hand, that's the funny part is, well, you don't have to have much of a why if you're like a slave to everyday life. And I say that really with the reality that some of us, we just have to do that. But I don't wake up begrudging that. I actually enjoy the challenge of how much can I produce and how efficient can I be with it. And I like to win. Even though I'm somewhat passive in a lot of ways, it's like I like to see my competitors. If they get a listing from me, then good job, great for them. They made a nice presentation. I want to see what I can do better. But I just don't lose. In the long run, I'm going to win. Back to the Ironman analogy, this is not a sprint. This is an Ironman. When you've swam 2.4 miles, 112 miles of cycling, and then you have a marathon to run, you are not quitting. And the finish line is just like around the corner. Every single time, it's just around the corner. And I don't like the feeling of defeat. I'm not going to let it happen to me. And so that's the mindset that I've got. And we all have that in us if we're competing against ourselves. So get better every day. And that's one of my mottos, is better every day. I'm not winning by like an overnight success. It's one small item that I'm going to change about my life every single day to make it better. And that can come in all different forms. I'd really like to go back, though, before I turn off my mic, and say this business about losing business to a friend or your friend hires a family member, whatever. There's a great book by Stephen Covey. It's called The Speed of Trust. And even though we all kind of know this stuff, it was able to put it into an understandable framework. And what I walked away from it that was most helpful to me is we all trust people. It's like why does someone hire their aunt? Well, they trust their aunt. It's family. You know, there's this feeling of comfort that you don't think your aunt's going to lie to you necessarily, but that's a friendship kind of trust. But do we trust their competency? I think one of the things, their real estate competency. I wouldn't hire my lawn guy, who's an amazing lawn guy. I wouldn't hire him to do brain surgery. I trust his competency from the horticultural sense, but certainly not from a medical sense. Well, we don't always, what we portray on Facebook is we look good, but do we describe the depth of our knowledge? Back to knowledge broker concept. Thank you, Lisa. I think that was from you. And so when we're giving our presentation to people, making sure we're weaving into the reason they should hire us is not because they can trust our integrity and our honesty, but they can trust our real estate competency. And there are many different ways to present that as we're talking to people, but you build that over a period of time where you become that specialist and people know it. And you can highly diminish the number of people who hire just some family member, some other realtor. It means that they're not, when we turn this inward and we say, why did they choose this other person? They didn't truly understand the value that we specifically brought to the table. And don't beat yourself up over losing 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 of those. Look forward as to how do you position yourself in a way that, yeah, Aunt Susie's good. She's a good friend, or I know her, or she's my friend's friend, but Daryl or whatever your name is, just can't be beat. He's the guy who's really going to get it done for me.
Awesome. Thanks, Daryl. I love that. Lisa or Ellen?
Okay, that's a long pause.
Sorry.
So it's been so great. Yeah, I mean, Ellen, did you want to jump in?
No, wait, you can go, Lisa.
Okay, yeah. So how to sort of get back on track when we're feeling, when we're losing that motivation and kind of. One of the things that I've learned through a bunch of years of study with Tony Robbins is that it is really important to put he has that whole planning method called RPM, and it turns kind of the goal setting, maybe traditionally from what we think about, setting a goal and then getting there, turns it backwards. And the R stands for results, right? And the P stands for purpose, and then the M is for massive action. So action comes after you really identify, why are you doing, what result are you really looking for? So, doing all that visioning, and I do that, I love the end of the year, and I'm thinking about it now with the beginning of the second half of the year. Kind of false dates, but they work for me. That time in December, like between Christmas and New Year's, obviously I do business planning before then, but I really spend some time during that time when we're really not working, nobody's really selling real estate, hopefully, and I can dig more into visioning. What does it look like? Where am I sitting? What's around me? What am I smelling? Like really getting specific to get myself into that place of excitement and anticipation and inspiration, and I write and set all this stuff through that. So I think remembering when I do have those lousy days, lousy mornings, whenever things, something dreadful happened in a transaction or a terrible argument in your family or something, getting myself back to a place of what did that vision look like? Where did I want to go? And then how am I going to move really towards that? That's been really powerful. Also, I feel like I'm super fortunate. I was kind of given the gift of silver linings, and I know some people that have that gift and some people that absolutely don't have that gift as much as they'd love to have it. I don't take any credit for it. It's nothing that I do cultivate it. I do work hard on expanding that, but I put a quote into the chat a while ago. I think it was Winston Churchill. I thought it was somebody else, but I guess it's Winston Churchill who said, "Never let a good crisis go to waste." And I think about the same thing with a down, kind of a down feeling. How can I grow from this? What is there to learn in this? What is there in my thought process that I could shift? How can I do things a little differently? I try really hard not to think about all the other blankety blanks that did something. How can I walk differently in this situation? Where's the growth? Where's the silver lining? I really work hard at that, and it carries me. It carries me in my work life. It carries me in my family life, and obviously in my spiritual life as well. So that's kind of some of the things that I do to kick my own butt. And also, just lastly, I want to say I also learned really early on, it's really important to put the oxygen mask on yourself first. I just know that. I know that deep in my bones. And that has saved me a lot of anxiety and heartache, because I know I have to take care of myself first, or I'm not worth anything to anybody else. And that has also carried me.
Thank you, Lisa. I really appreciate that. Ellen?
So in terms of getting out of a funk and, doing the work when the work needs to be done, I don't struggle with work ethic, but I will admit that sometimes it just seems like there's never an end, and there's always more that can be done, right? We've chosen a profession where we could work around the clock. So I think it's about prioritizing, knowing what the must-dos are versus the can-dos. And again, not comparing yourself to others. And that happens naturally when there's a loss. If you're not chosen, if you feel somebody was chosen over you, why people choose the people they opt to work with, you never know fully. And yes, my first instinct is to look inward and say, could I have done something differently? Maybe I wasn't clear in articulating what strengths I brought to the table. Maybe I wasn't as diligent with follow-up. Or maybe it's just a matter of it wasn't meant to be, and I need to move on, because what I find for myself is if I dwell on it, it absolutely does not serve me well. I think you have to snap out of the funk, look forward, and dig deep and have it motivate you to work harder. That's what it does for me. So yeah, there's a little bit of grief that goes into it. Sometimes, I don't want to say panic, but like, how could this happen? You know what I mean? Because sometimes it is just such a shock. You can't help but ask, how did this happen, that I lost this or they didn't choose me? But dig deep and know that, the right people are the people who are going to want to work with you. And I know that's really hard to digest, especially when you're new and every commission makes like all the difference. But the more I'm in this profession, the more I realize like it's really important to work with the right people. And I feel like the work we do is so critical because we're helping people with the biggest transactions of their lives. So I think that's really at the heart of what motivates me, even when I get in that sense of overwhelm or mundane, if things feel mundane. Like snap back to the fact that everybody's counting on you with their biggest transactions or massive transition for their family, and we have the ability to make that a very pleasant experience for them. So
thanks, Ellen. I appreciate that. I would say for myself, my creating memories with my children. Money doesn't motivate me, but it's having the money to be able to create memories with my children and my family and document it and have those things. I'm a kind of sentimental guy, and I want to have those memories. I remember my childhood growing up and what was very valuable to me and the memories I had, and I want to be able to create those. So that's a big driving factor in me getting out of funks, is knowing that I want to be able to create these memories. The other thing that really motivates me is burning my bridges to other options. When I don't have any other option, and I've put I'm not saying that this as financial advice, by the way. This is when I when I say this is my only option, I have to make it work, right? Like Daryl said, he's obligated. He has obligations he has commitments he has to fulfill. You will find the capacity to fulfill those obligations, those that you'll find the capacity to meet those commitments when there is no other option for you. And being able to get at a place in your mindset to say, this is my only option. This is where I'm going after, and I'm not going to accept anything or another. I'm not accepting failure. I'm not accepting me going back into the workplace or getting another job. Though that is not an option for me. And when I've made that like my absolute, I'm burning this bridge, somehow, some way, I'm always able to meet the obligations for my family. And so that is a mindset shift that I had early on that really I saw growth as a result of that. I want to end today's meeting with one final question. This one for our panelists. This is your biggest aha moment. The thing that shifted you in your personal growth or business growth, the biggest aha moment, not necessarily for mindset. It doesn't have to be related to this. It could be something, it could be mindset, it could be in your business, it could be in your personal development, but had a significant impact on you that changed the way you did things moving forward.
Well, I'll go, and I'm going to go crunchy granola. I'm not going icon top producer. The first thing that came to my mind, and that's why I want to share. I don't want to get like teary here, but the first time I held that grandbaby, life and my future changed forever. So honestly, I would say that, you know, there's been lots of great teachers and many great lessons. I've been around the planet for quite a while, but the first time I held that grandbaby and being with her every week and the way that she looks at me and my husband, Papa Fred, I'm Gaga, by the way. That's the thing that changes. That's the moment that changed my life forever.
That's great. Thanks for sharing, Lisa.
Lisa, that's exciting for me to hear. So I appreciate you sharing that personal experience. I would be happy to share that the biggest event in my life that I can look back on as an aha moment is when I realized how many people live their life crippled with fear of change. My husband and I made a move from Connecticut to Charleston in 2009 when there was no pressing need. It wasn't a job. It was just we felt that it was the right place for us to be. We left the security of two very established careers, a beautiful home. Our kids were thriving in the schools, but we just followed a compelling feeling that this was the right change for our family. And it ended up putting a trajectory on all of our lives that none of us saw coming. And it's been a very, very positive change. So it taught me that even when you're presented with something that is very frightening, you need to listen to your gut and follow your instincts and not live in a fear mindset. Another example of that was quickly on the heels when I chose to leave teaching after 21 years, steady income, a predictable paycheck, benefits, following my passion into real estate as a full-time career and giving up the security of a full-time job with benefits has come back to me tenfold. I'm not just talking financially, but in terms of personal satisfaction and so much. So I feel like we're working with people that are involved in massive change, and it's our career. So we have the ability to really help people. We can be the face of calm and reason when we're dealing with people who are going through change and might be paralyzed with fear. So that's been a big aha moment that I've tried to use to help me help people better.
Thanks, Ellen. That's great. Thank you for sharing. Daryl?
Wow, Ellen, that's really profound. I think that really speaks to the psychology of what we do. And when you step out, we get our real estate licenses, and we leave this class. This is, I'm trying to speak to the aha moment. You leave this class and you've got your certificate and you've passed your test, whatever, and you know about this paperwork, and we're kind of taught this mechanical process, like there's some magic in the mechanics, and it has nothing to do with that whatsoever. It is understanding what Ellen just described, and Lisa, what you were describing. And these are people that we're helping to get from point A to point B. The change is scary to them. They've lost a spouse. They're excited about having a baby, but gosh, the husband is worried about how they're going to pay for it, and the mom is trying to figure out where she's going to have the crib, and is her baby going to be safe? And so all of these things are happening in people's lives, and we're not trained in that. We're trained in okay, well, paragraph 6A says, and so if we can bring the two of those together and relieve their anxiety over it, you've got a real win. And that's the presentation that wins. That comes down to that aspect of trust, and the trust of competency that we're talking about, that I think is really missing in what we bring to the public for the most part. I will tell you one of my whys, and I really identified with it, is I have all these adopted kids, and being able to tell them, I picked you. That's what drives me, and we get to do stuff together, and we work together as a family. They even help me with my Airbnbs and my sales, and if we do this, then we get to go on a special bike trip, and that's what we do together, and real estate is part of that. One of my kids makes the welcome baskets. The other one does the Matterport tours. I own a Matterport camera. And so I train them kind of as we go, and we pull together as a team. And it's the most rewarding career I could ever imagine, but it is something that we do together.
I love that. Bringing your kids on with what you do and incorporating them, I think that's phenomenal. I'll leave everybody with this, and I would say, we've heard this many times. We heard in the previous session, come from contribution, right? Think of others other than yourself. Think of what you can do to make an impact on that person's life, and the byproduct will come. The byproduct will take care of itself on your end, as long as we come from contribution. So if you guys could give it up for our panelists today. If you have any questions, it looks like we do have some links in the comments from Daryl. If you have any questions specific to any agents, please reach out to them through Workplace. We'd love to be able to connect with you there. I've seen a lot of comments on just the impact of some of these things relating to some of the stories that have been shared. If there are any additional questions that we've missed, please reach out. Let us know. Guys, thanks for attending. Thanks for doing this with us. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you, everybody. This has been such a pleasure and honor. Have a wonderful, wonderful holiday weekend. Thank you for spending some time with us.
Thank you. Have a wonderful holiday, everybody.
Take care.